Hi everyone, my name is Tiffany and I'm going to be doing my project on how COVID has affected my really small community. And when I say really small, I mean really small. There are only about 1,000 people that live in my town. So instead of doing Indy or New York or LA, I kind of wanted to take a step further and see how COVID has affected very small communities, very small conservative towns, and how people have kind of changed over the last year. So a little bit about the place that I call home. It's a little town named Colfax, Indiana, and it's a little south of Lafayette and a little north of Indianapolis, for anybody who's wondering. It has a population of about 1,000 people, and it's a very predominantly white neighborhood. It's so small that we don't have a mayor, we barely have a town council, and there's one restaurant, a little Pizza King, a little gas station, and it's one of those towns where everybody knows everyone. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want you to kind of get a feel of how these people think. It's a more conservative neighborhood, so I want you to definitely keep that in mind as we move forward. So I wanted to put a little diagram here to just show how small Colfax is. I think the last time I checked, the outer roads measured about 3 miles or something crazy like that. It's so small. And here are some events that go on in Colfax that we actually had to cancel this year due to COVID, and that includes Old Hickory Days. Old Hickory Days is an event that happens at the beginning of August, sometimes late July, where shops set out on Main Street, and it's pretty popular. A lot of people, especially people who have just lived in Colfax their whole life, who maybe have moved away, they come and shop around, and it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of library events that we had to cancel this year, so we have a lot of events with like scholastic reading, where kids can get rewards if they read their books. And then the parade we also had to cancel this year, also as well as any sports events that do happen in Colfax. Everything had to be canceled this year due to COVID. So that did take quite a toll on the community. So what do I expect from the results that I gathered from my survey? Well, because it's such a small conservative town, I do expect those views to reflect that. I expect it to be conservative views on COVID. I expect people to be more afraid than others, but I expect that to be pretty much split evenly. I do expect better hygiene habits overall, and I do want to touch a little bit on false consciousness and class consciousness. So I've left some definitions below from both the book and another source that I've gathered if you wanted to read those, but it's mainly about false consciousness is when a person of lower class believes that the circumstances in their life are because of things out of their control, when oftentimes it's not the case at all, and it's actually because of the difference in class. So how did I conduct my survey? Well, it was pretty simple. I posted a quick 8-question survey that was composed of 6 multiple choice / rates and 2 short answers on the town Facebook page. So we actually have a little town Facebook page that people can post on, and I decided that would be the best place to post this. And I gave a little explanation about what I was doing. I did put a link into the survey questions if you wanted to look at them. That is below. And I gathered 9 responses total, which was way more than I thought I was going to get. It might not seem like a lot, but like I said, this is a very small town. I think it's probably about 800 to 1,000 people, so that's quite a bit of responses, more than I thought I was going to get. So my first question that I asked was a simple rate question. On a scale of 1, being not scared at all, to 5, which was very scared, how would you rate your fear of COVID? So 3 people selected a 2, 1 selected a 3, and 5 selected a 4. So it was pretty dispersed evenly as I thought it was. It's a nice little, kind of even curve right there, which is what I expected previously. So the second question I asked was, have your hygiene habits changed since COVID? And the reason I asked this question is because right now a lot of people are starting to really find a solace and a savior in hand sanitizer, hand soap, those kind of things. Those things make them feel safe, and I wanted to see if the people found that to be true. Did their hygiene habits make them feel safe? And it looks like all but one person said that their hygiene habits had changed, which was very nice to hear. One person said no, that they have stayed the same, but the rest said that they have improved. So my third question that I asked was if somebody they had known has died or contracted COVID. And one person said that they do not know anybody who has died or contracted COVID, but 8 people said that yes, they know somebody who contracted or died from COVID, and it was split 4-4 right there. So for my fourth question that I asked people to classify themselves in terms of class. The reason I asked people this is because I wanted to kind of see if they thought that because of their class, were they more at risk for COVID or not? And if they thought that they were more almost deserving to contract COVID over people who were upper class citizens. So the majority of people, it looks like 5 people total, said that they were lower middle class, and 3 people said that they were upper middle class. And one person actually chose the other category here, and they wrote in middle class for their answer. So again, the reason that I chose this question to answer into my survey was because I wanted to kind of get a feel of the people that I was surveying. Question 5, I wanted to see if a lot of the people that answered my survey felt like they had access to good materials during COVID, and it looks like every single person that answered my survey said that they have had access to hand sanitizer, masks, hand soap, that kind of stuff to protect themselves, which was very nice to hear, and honestly was not expected. I expected more people to say that they did not have access to more materials, but I'm glad that I got this answer instead. For question 6, I asked my surveyors if they were worried that because of their class, were they more at risk to contract COVID. So 2 out of the 9 people answered yes, that they were more at risk because of their class. And when I go to the program, both of those people identified themselves as lower class, which says to me that this was a pretty good example of class versus false conscientiousness. And the reason that it's false conscientiousness here is because they believe that because of their class, they are at higher risk to contract COVID, and that people who are more upper class are less likely to contract COVID. The 7th question that I asked was a short answer question, and it asked, do you believe poor people are more likely to contract COVID? Please state why or why not. So why did I ask this? I wanted to kind of test the awareness of the issue back to the false versus class conscientiousness. I just wanted to kind of see if people would say yes and why, because personally I believe that poor people are more likely to contract COVID because they don't have supplies. So out of the 9 responses, 5 did say yes, 3 said no, and 1 actually said maybe, which kind of surprised me. So along with answering the previous question, I also asked that they give me a reason, yes or no, why they felt this way. So for anybody who put no, these were the main answers. It was COVID doesn't discriminate, it all depends on how cautious you are, and most places around have free supplies. Reasons for yes include don't have the means or can't afford it. This could include not having a car to go get stuff or not having the money to go get stuff. And this was also the reason for the one person who put maybe. So for my last question that I asked on my survey, I asked what their biggest fear or concern of COVID was and if they would explain why. So why did I ask this question? I wanted to see a difference in responses. I wanted to see if people were afraid of the physical aspects of it, like getting sick, or maybe the social aspects of it. And I actually got a very large arrangement of answers. These are the main ones I got. Some people were more afraid for their school and community, so I would count this as social. Some people were more afraid of government involvement. Some people were afraid of people involvement, so people not being very cautious and smart with the whole ordeal. And a lot of people were very afraid that they were going to get their family sick and they were going to lose their family. So what has this project taught me about my community and COVID as a whole? It taught me that people really aren't so different here, whether it be separation of age. Everybody seems to be afraid of some aspect of COVID. I kind of expected the older, more conservative people to kind of have that more conservative views, but it didn't really seem to reflect that. I found that people are worried about different things, but for similar reasons. Some people are worried that their family's going to get sick, and some people are worried that they'll get sick and they'll lose their jobs. Some of it is more for social reasons, like not being able to see your family, and some of it's for economic reasons, like losing your job, and stuff like that. So I found that people were afraid about different things, but for similar reasons in those different aspects. Some people in this conservative town actually surprised me with their understanding of class consciousness. They were able to understand that people that aren't in higher class positions are more likely to be treated as such, which was very surprising and pleasant to kind of see that aspect of my community. So I also wanted to include some pictures of my life before COVID and during COVID. So to the left is me and my husband at my niece's t-ball game. As you can see, we're not wearing masks, and there's a lot of people sitting together. And then to the right is me and my husband at Exploration Acres this October, and I'm wearing a mask, and he just took his off for the picture, but there's nobody around us. It's very secluded, just to kind of show how things have changed. So here are my references for anybody who would like to do more research about class versus false consciousness. It's very interesting and very sad, honestly, to see how some people do believe that they are more deserving to get the short end of a stick because of what class bracket they are in, and not because of how they're being taken advantage of in certain aspects. So I feel that if you're interested, these are really good references to check out. Thank you.